Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we have the pleasure of thinking about flipping your switch. Ooh, isn't that a thinker and something that we really need to think about? Because do you ever wonder if your switch is on or even off? That's a real thinker. And luckily, I have Jay here who's going to really help us think about this in a whole new way. Oh, so excited for this, Jay. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's dive in. When you hear those words, flipping your switch, what does that make you think about?
Well, thanks, Mitzi, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and talking with you today. Um, so, flipping your switch, basically, it's just a different way of thinking about life.
I love it. I love it because that's exactly what my point is. That's the whole point of this of my podcast. It's all about just switching your flips, thinking about your life and just everything that's in part of your life in a whole new way. So it's like, when did you realize for you that you needed to start switching things up?
Well, like many people, I had found myself in a relationship that was no longer working at a job that I really did not like. It was a dead end. But we're raised how to be responsible adults, and we're taught to keep committed to your commitments. You got to work stuff out. Sometimes you have to suck it up and tolerate life because that's what being an adult is, right?
Yeah,
Except when it's not working for you, like really, how much suck it up and tolerate do you have to take?
oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a reality that we all have to like come at and like come to that crossroad that like how much more can I really endure? You know what I mean? Is this in like, am I doing this my part of my season to actually help me to build me up to for something that I'm striving for? Like people will work three jobs, but they have a goal to pay off their debt, to make that down payment for a house. I get it. Endure those three jobs. But if you're enduring a dead end job that doesn't fulfilling you, isn't serving you in any way, your relationship isn't serving you anymore, your environment, your home. I mean, everything can truly come to a halt and realize like what is the whole point of this? So like for you, what is the best way to start moving in the direction that you kind of want to go into?
Well, when you kind of feel like a prisoner in your own life,
That's a
you
good
feel
word.
trapped. And it's really hard to see the way out. And for me, like I had so much internal pressure. If I change things, am I going to make it worse? Are things
Yeah.
really that bad? We tend to
Yeah.
compare our lives to people around us. And we're
Mhm.
like, well, we don't have it as bad as they do. So is it really worth it? But at the end of the day, we only have one life.
Yes.
And we deserve to have a life we enjoy, to live a life we don't regret. You were just talking about working three jobs. If you're working three jobs because you have a goal in mind and you're dead set on reaching that goal, kudos to you. That's not sucking it up and tolerating it. That's doing what you have to do to get what you want. But
Mhm.
that's the key. You
Mhm.
want it.
Mhm.
It's not okay, well, I guess this is what I'm just supposed to do because now I'm an adult and this is where my choices have led me. You can always change your mind. But
Absolutely.
what's hard is knowing where to start,
Mhm. Mhm.
especially when you feel trapped and all you see are obstacles in your way. You're like, well, I could do this, but this, but this, but this, and then you butt yourself right back to where you are. So it's really about what makes you happy. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just even thinking about what made you happy as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
very valid.
revisiting your core values and what brings you joy authentically from the inside. And a lot of times when we get to be adults, we forget those things. And that's a great place to start.
Yeah, I think that is a very valid point. And you really did bring up a lot of valid points. Like we have to really weigh it out and really determine like what am I doing this for? Am I doing it just to make somebody else happy? Am I doing this to make myself happy? Am I doing it so I can get approval by somebody? You know what I mean? Those are real things that we have to ask ourselves because it's like we only have one life, like you said. We can live so many different lives in our one life. I mean, you can be a doctor, you can be an actor, you can be, you know what I mean? You can be a writer, you can be so many things. You can have so many hats on your head, but it's like, are they the hats that you actually want to experience for yourself? You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think that's one thing that a lot of people really have to ask ourselves are those deep questions like, is this fulfilling me? Does this give it has me aligned with my purpose, with my dream? And then going back to, like you said, that childlike mentality, do you have that passion in what you're doing? Did you ever wanted to actually be a firefighter? And why didn't you go after being a firefighter? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
these are the things that people really need to ask ourselves. Like if it's only because you needed to lose weight and run that extra mile, then lose that weight, run that mile, get that your stamina up. You know what I mean? Work on your cardio to be a firefighter, you know, do whatever that you need to do. And I think we need to ask ourselves, are you living for yourself or are you living for somebody else? And I also loved how you talked about comparison. Oh, how I love that. Oh, I love that because people don't realize comparison can really entrap us. So have you ever been in a moment where you felt trapped by comparison?
I did actually, and that's when I felt trapped in my life, when I was in a relationship that was over emotionally and at the dead end job. I was financially responsible for us, so I didn't feel like I could leave the job that I hated, but
Mhm.
I also didn't, I felt guilty if I was going to kick him out on the street because
Mhm.
I did have a relationship. Like this was a human. I cared for him. I can't just throw him out on the street, even though the
Yeah.
relationship was over. So I did feel trapped, and eventually, what I did was I realized I could pay for him to move away and go
How
live
did
with
you?
his family.
Oh,
And then, unfortunately, what I did was I convinced myself that I needed to keep the job because of all the financial reasons. I still had a lease to pay.
yeah.
I only solved half my problem.
Mm.
Unexpectedly, 2 months after I ended the relationship and had stayed at this job that I hated, thinking, I have time, I'll just suck it up, I'll start my life in a year.
Yeah.
2 months later, he drove over 1,000 miles and knocked on my door, and the night ended with his arrest for my attempted murder, even though he had no history of violence.
Wow.
So it just, when you talk about, you know, comparison,
Yeah.
when I found myself in that position before all of this happened, when I was looking around and I'm like, okay, well, I do have a successful job and I
Yeah.
am in a relationship.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't have it as bad.
Yeah.
But I was unhappy.
Yeah.
And then when I did finally find my way out, moving him away to go live with family, solved half the problem.
Mhm.
Had he succeeded that night, I would not have been happy with the life I was living at the time of the incident.
Yeah.
And so it really is, life is short. We never know when the end is coming.
We
Um,
really don't.
so, going back to the comparison, remove the comparison. Is the life that you're living, is that the one that you want? You can share your life. You can share your life with friends, a spouse, a partner, your kids. Share your life as much as you want, but make sure it's also the life that you want to be living.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is something real. I mean, you literally faced death. Like death was right there. He came with a vendetta and he was ready to just be like, you're gonna end our relationship? No, I'm gonna end you. And that you were like, ugh, yeah, that's a reality check. You know what I mean? For yourself and for everybody to realize like it just because you continue to make excuses for something doesn't make it valid. You know what I mean? And I was in a situation not that extreme as yours, but I had a job, I had a relationship, but my relationship was done, especially when I found out that he was cheating and he was making excuses saying, "Oh, I'm not cheating, I'm just networking." I'm like, "That's a lie, but thanks for covering it up and calling it pretty." And I was supporting him. I was supporting the house. I was supporting the dogs because at the time we were breeding dogs, so we had lots of dogs. We had a house, so it's just like I was in that predicament. Like, man, I have to continue to provide. This is what I want. I was for these dogs. You know what I mean? Like, I made these excuses, and then I was just like, you know what? Something has to change, and it's me because if not, I'm the one that's dying inside. Like,
Mhm.
I literally
Exactly.
was dying inside. Like, ugh, this like you're probably the only one and anybody else who has been in that predicament, they know the feeling of how you feel like you're dying inside because there's no like joy, there's no love. It's just like contentment. Like I was happier at work sometimes and I was miserable at work. Like I used to cry in my lunch breaks. You know what I mean? Like because
Yeah.
it was so intense sometimes. And I was just like, ugh, and I found more joy at that job than I did at home because I was just so overwhelmed and just so frustrated. So it's just like, oh my goodness, something has to change. So I got the car fixed. I fixed it for him. I told the landlord that it's I'm not going to be on the lease anymore. And I told my man at the time like I'm going to take a trip to vacation to my family for the Christmas, and I was able to arrange for my job to transfer me out to a different branch where my family was. And I was just like, I'll keep the job, but I'll get rid of the boyfriend. So I did exactly like you did, like keep the job. So then I literally just upped and left. And I left him everything, everything, the house, anything that didn't fit in my suitcase. I left it all there. And when I landed and I got to my sister's house, I sent him a message and I was like, listen, I can't do this anymore. It's either I have to leave or I will kill you. You know what I mean? Or we're going to kill each other because we cannot get this right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So after that, that was the end. He hated me. Everybody in that family thought I was the worst of the worst, the wicked witch of the West. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's okay. I allow them to speak whatever that they want to speak to make themselves feel better because I have peace of mind that I don't have to ever deal with that ever again. And that's like a relief that nobody can give you besides yourself. So it's like for you, and you had that moment when after he attempted to murder you and after you gained clarity and you moved and you left go of that job, what was that feeling for you?
It was, that's the silver lining that came out of that night. But first of all, kudos to you for grabbing your own joy and saying, I got to get out of here, and then making it happen.
Mm,
And before we go too far off of that one, it's, you know, when you're in that position, and everybody who has, like you said, anybody who's been in that situation where they feel like this is just not working for me, I
yeah,
gotta make some sort of change, but all we see are the obstacles in our way. It's
yeah,
that kind of feeling like, oh, but I can't. And
yeah.
you feel like a prisoner, but so
Yes.
the guard to your own prison. The only way you
Yes.
can get out of that prison is for your to allow yourself to unlock and escape.
Yes, I love that
So
analogy. That's a great way to put it. Like we do that in our own minds and in our own situations. Like why? But it just makes sense at the time, but in reality, it makes no sense. Mm,
Yeah, you just have to have the courage to go for it and just be like, you know what? I'm putting me first. The rest of it, does it really matter in the grand scheme of things?
yeah,
Material objects, financial responsibilities, judgment from others, which is
yeah,
one way we keep ourselves in that prison. We don't want that judgment from others, which you obviously experienced. But when you have your own joy, you're like, yeah, judge me all you want. I don't really care. I'm happy.
yeah, exactly. It's like
So,
once you cross that bridge and you let it burn, you look back and like, I don't care. That bridge can burn because I'm over here and I'm okay. And people don't realize like if you burn one bridge, you can build another bridge somewhere else. You know what I
yes,
mean?
exactly.
You can build up your the life and the community and the village that you ultimately want in your heart and you know that you are meant for. You know what I mean? So it's like for
Yes.
you, did you ever have this feeling like I was meant for more? And how did you take that first step?
Well, um after that night, the silver lining that came out of it was I had the balls to get out of the relationship.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah, you
convinced
did.
myself to stay where I was because all of these reasons, all of these obstacles that I thought were in my way, and everything that I was trying to avoid by staying exactly where I was happened anyway. I had to break the lease because I couldn't live there anymore, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up having to pay for two leases. I had to stay at the job much longer than I wanted because now I had to keep a job that gave me flexibility to go to court dates until we had our trial. And it took like 13 months longer from the time I ended the relationship. And I could have just gone off and started living a new life, one that made me happy. And I convinced myself to stay where I was. I ended up trapping myself basically
Mm.
in unknowingly, of course, but
Yeah.
it took another 13 months before I could actually go start to live my life. And so once
Mm.
that happened, I was like, okay, well, that's not happening again. Like once I get through this trial and everything, I'm going to go start living my life and I'm going to live it the way I want. And however that needs to happen is what I'm going to do. And I went back to my core values. What is it that I want? What makes me happy? I would start down a path. If that wasn't going exactly where I wanted, shift, change, start over. We all did it when we graduated high school or when we left school. Some of us got GEDs, some of us graduated, some of us dropped out. Doesn't even matter. We all started a life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know how to be an adult when we started becoming an adult. You just figured it out as you went along. Some of us went to college and had a goal and had a career plan and all that whatnot. That's fine. That's great. But for a lot of us, we don't have that,
Yeah, exactly.
life experience. But you did it once, and that's all about flipping your switch too. Is you look back and you, oh, well, I did that. Like I graduated high school, I started my life, I became an adult. I
Yeah.
did it once. I'll just change and I'll do it again.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is like we can switch up as much as we can. Like
Mhm.
if you can change your underwears every day or every so often, then that means you can switch your life every so often as well. You know what I mean? But people don't realize that because we put ourselves in this box, you know what I mean? Or like we're like ants, you know, when you put a circle with a pen and an ant, they think
Oh
that they're
yeah,
trapped until they realize like there's nothing really there. It's just the
right.
image that's there, and then they finally cross over and then they're like, oh, I'm free. Like that's how we are. You know what I mean? We are literally no difference than these insects that we think that we're high and mighty because they're under our feet. But in reality, it's like our lives are so fragile. It can end in a split of a second. You know what I mean? Your life was about to be gone in a split in a second. Someone's life can be gone by a car accident, by a train getting dismantled. You know what I mean? A plane crashing. I mean, oh my goodness, a building falling down, a house burning up. You know what I mean? So many things can just happen without us even realizing it. So it's just like we really have to take into consideration how we live our lives and if it really sits well with us. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And can I enjoy this? And if I'm not enjoying this, why am I not enjoying this? Where do I need to move? Where do I need to lean towards? Where do I need to be curious in life? You know what I mean? And go lean towards that and go find out what it is so that you can flip your switch, you know what I mean? Or just twist it, you know what I mean? Shift it just a little bit. Maybe it's just dimmed, you know what I mean? Because some people have those dimmers, you know, on lights. Maybe yours is just dim. Just crank that bad boy up and turn it on so you can actually see everything that's in there. Because, man, life is truly amazing and fascinating all up in itself. Like, if we like you said, if you when you look back and you see all the times that seasons change, environments change, jobs change, families change, I mean, you can realize like, wow, I've been able to adapt, I've been able to overcome, I'm able to proceed forward. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for the amount of times we've already done so much. You know what I mean? So for you, how do you continue to give yourself this um, gratification knowing that you're doing okay, if that's the right word. I don't know if that is, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, you got it.
Well,
Okay, okay.
and you kind of touched on it because we don't give ourselves enough credit for things that we've done. So one way of flipping your switch and thinking about giving yourself credit for things you've done. Most of us know how to drive a car.
Yeah.
It's not something we knew how to do before. Nobody just jumped in the driver's seat and started cruising 80 miles an hour down the highway. You just didn't do that. You
Yeah.
had to learn how to do it. And you get in and instantly, most of us feel overwhelmed. Like there's the gas and the brake, and you have to look at this mirror and that mirror and this mirror, and you shift. Well, if it's an automatic, then you shift from reverse to drive. But if it's a clutch, if it's a stick shift, that adds another component.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But once you learn how to do all of those things, then you do get in the car. And now you drive 80 miles an hour or accidentally more down the interstate, and you're not even thinking about it. And
Yeah.
it's just proof to ourselves that we are capable of learning complex tasks that we didn't know how to do before. And so it's little shifts in your thinking like that. You learned how to tie your shoes. Not as complicated as driving a car, of course, but you also learned how to use a knife, a fork, a spoon. You learned how to eat, feed yourself. You learned how to cook or at least buy takeout and have food delivery or so. You figured it out. So there's all
Yeah.
these little things that we dismiss as insignificant.
Yeah.
We overlook them as achievements that we really should give ourselves credit for. And when you start looking at these little mini moments that happen throughout your day, like there's all kinds of things that spontaneously pop up in the middle of the day that you have to deal with,
Mhm.
and you don't have time to deal with it, so you quickly address it, you solve the issue, you keep on going, and you don't even think about what you just did, and you don't give yourself credit for it.
Yeah.
But if you start looking at life that way and you're like, oh, I did this, so if I did that, I can do this, and you leverage the
Yeah.
confidence from it.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that so much because one thing that I started doing that validates what you just said is that my to-do list on my calendars, on my daily planner is not what I need to do. It's what I've already done. So if I already done the dishes, if I already put the clothes away, if I already fed the boys, brushed their teeth, did their little school time, do all those little things that may seem irrelevant or insignificant, I will still mark them down because those are things that matter. You know what I mean? They all matter and they all add up. Every one, like 1 + 1 = 2. Great. Now you're at two. So it's like one, if you keep on adding all of those ones up, they tally up to something bigger at the end of our lives. And we don't realize that you are so right. We don't give ourselves credit for those little things, knowing how to tie your shoes, knowing how to write. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to teach my boys how to hold a pencil. You know what I mean? Hold a crayon in their hand. You know what I mean? Like that's something that's small right now, but later on, that'll be something big. And especially for those people who had a stroke or had a really severe car accident and they're learning how to walk again, learning how to talk again, learning how to hold a utensil in their hand, those are accomplishments. Those are something that you should feel proud of, knowing that this is what you've gone so far doing, even if you have to restart your whole life all over again, moving, finding a new job, finding new friends, finding a new environment, finding yourself again. Give
Mhm.
yourself the grace to know that it's okay. Oh my goodness, Jay, I can just pick your brain and talk to you for hours on end. I love this conversation. But what can be some lasting words that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
Well, something that you just touched on, just expanding on that, you were talking about 1 + 1 = 2, and you add another one to it. Now you're at three, and so a visual analogy that I always tell people is if you're standing on the edge of a riverbank and you
Mhm.
want to go to the other side, but there's no bridge, it's too deep to walk, it's too fast to swim across. You're standing there and you're like, I want to go over there, but I don't see how. And most of us at that point would just give up. But if you collect all these little mini moments that we've just been talking about, you
Yeah.
didn't have friends before you went to school, you made friends. All these
Yeah.
little things that you do in your life that are mini accomplishments, and you collect them like pebbles and you just drop them into this river one by one by one by one by one. Eventually, those rocks, those little pebbles, will stack on top of each other. And if you continue to collect all these little moments, then you and drop them in the river, you'll eventually build your own little bridge across to the other side. You'll
love
slow the
that.
current down either to the point where you could wade across, or you could slow it down enough to where you could swim across, or you eventually build up enough rocks that you can walk across. But there is a way when you flip the switch on your thinking,
Yeah.
there is a way that if you want something, there is a way to make it happen.
Oh, I love that. Oh, Jay. Oh, Jay, that was so much. Oh, that was such great words of wisdom just to keep us all thinking because you're right. If you really think about it and you have that analogy in front of you, you can really put it into reference and just oh my goodness, it held so much value. It really does. And I hope that anybody who's listening really sees the value in their own life and sees whatever obstacle that they're in front of them or that they're placing in their own obstacles in front of them or maybe they're behind that jail cell that they have locked the key inside and they don't know where it is and not realizing that it's not even locked. All you have to do is push the door. You know what I mean? All you got to do is
Yeah.
just make that first step. All you got to do is flip your switch, ladies and gentlemen. Think about your life differently. Think about your options differently. Think about your obstacles differently. Think about your hurdles differently. Think about everything and anything in life just differently. Just shift it. Just shift it a little bit and you will see so much greatness, so many opportunities in your life. And if you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, please go check out Jay. I have access to her website where she shares so much great content, so many opportunities for you to just continue on thinking. Because isn't that the point? Yes, it is for us to keep on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.